Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast with Johnny, Tom, and Matt. We are the Boro Podcast that gives you all of your Boro match day chatter in a podcast. And well, after a winless run over Christmas without scoring a goal since Bristol City away, Boro thrashed Southampton 4-0 to put themselves back in the automatic places. Well, we're very, very happy, of course, and we're all here to discuss that wonderful, wonderful win where me and Matt hugged for nearly 20 minutes after that, the second goal. But Tom, let's kick things off because we're going to go into the game as well. We had no wins in 4, not scoring a goal. How were you feeling prior to kickoff?
Well, I'm just going to say you must have been hugging for 20 minutes because it's sheer body heat because it was absolutely Baltic yesterday at the Riverside. Coldest place on earth up there with Darlow train station yet again. But no, not going into it, having not scored a goal in 4, I was quite concerned. I think even with the result yesterday, you still look at Southampton's lineup and think that is a quality team and they probably shouldn't be where they are. If you're going into a game where their strike force is a choice between Adam Armstrong, Cameron Archer, Ross Stewart and Damien Downs with Finn Azaz, supplying that attack, you think, it's going to be a difficult one for our defence. Turns out it wasn't for a very, very good reason, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But I was quite nervous about it going into it, and I went to the Riverside not really expecting much, and came away extremely happy.
Were you both concerned that we were going into that game with a big blip, and we were worried that blip could have been a bigger problem in the next few weeks if results didn't go our way?
Yes, going into that game, it was a difficult one, and I know we've spoken about it in our group chat. I said, I think it was on the last pod, I feel like I was the jinx because it was like exactly what you had with Rob Edwards. Every time I went to see Boro in person under Kim Hellberg, we lost, and it wasn't particularly great. But then every time I haven't gone, it's the whole game, the QPR game. So I thought like I'd missed out on some absolutely fantastic football. Then we had the blip, and I'm thinking, all the stats and everything were in our favour, and it wasn't like we played necessarily badly in some of those games. But going into it, I suppose the other thing is it's a very Boro thing to do to go off the boil at Christmas, isn't it? So it could also be just put down to being cursed over Christmas. But yeah, going into it, I was like, yeah, we're on a bit of rubbish form. I'm nervous about this game, and then looking ahead to Fulham, just got to hope they don't take it seriously. And I was kind of nervously looking at the table and thinking, God, are we going to start sliding down here? But fair play to Hellberg and the coaching team because they've stuck to the principles through this run. And ultimately, it's paid off really well yesterday. One of the things I was kind of thinking as well as having that respect for Southampton's team and dreading the worst in terms of their strikers. I was also thinking we've played well when teams have tried to play football against us. We haven't managed to hit on a low block, so maybe Southampton coming here and thinking they can beat us by playing their game. Maybe that might play into our hands.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. That statement of teams wanting to play over low block. We do have a question on it a little bit later on, so we'll tackle that then. But for me, I'm the same as you, Tom. I think everything for me in those games, which we didn't win, I wasn't overly concerned throughout. I think bar the Blackburn game, which I did say was going to be a tough game for us because they're a really physical team. But other than that, I thought we've created so much. Like, surely it has to just materialize and we'll score a few goals again. And, and we did. And to be honest, with the numbers under Hellberg as well, like since he's came in, we've just seen a real sharp increase in attacking output and a decline in the defensive stuff as well. And that's a really positive thing because Boro are creating more, giving less away. Game state obviously matters because if you're 3 or 4 up, teams probably aren't going to attack you as much then as, if they were 1-0 down. But for me, the amount of chances we create and the way that we're playing at the moment, I just felt it is a little bit of a quality issue. I would love to see us strengthen in January. But overall, though, this team, when they're going and when they're purring, when they get ahead, I think they're so difficult to stop and they're just relentless. And that's what I really like about what we've got right now is just that nature and that appetite for more. Whereas previously and under some regimes, we would like to maybe sit on that and then wait and go back and back and back, and then finally we concede and you go away and you scratch your head and think, oh, I wish we'd just attack a little bit more. But Matt, how were you feeling as well? Were you a little bit concerned or were you going away fairly confident?
Yeah, I wasn't concerned by the number of chances we were creating. I think I was just looking at the team, looking at the 11 and thinking, where are the goals going to actually come from? Like, who are the genuine goal threats in this team? You're relying on probably Morgan Whittaker as the only real genuine goal threat I looked at in the team I thought could actually get us a goal. In the other attacking areas, you're looking at Bergsorg and Conway. I wouldn't say they're 2 players who you can hang your hat on getting a goal right now. And then the other sort of part of that front 4, you've got a number of options who I don't think Hellberg particularly fancies. So I think it was just hoping and praying that we found a way of going in front in those games, because we generally tend to be really, really good when going in front. It's if we go behind and the team then sits in, that's when you just know it's going to become difficult for us. And I think we saw that back against Bristol City. We saw that definitely against Derby. So it was a mix of a few things. And I think the injuries as well, which I know we'll talk about also, just looking at how depleted our squad was. I think the big worry I had going into the Southampton game especially was I looked at their bench and I just thought the longer the game goes on, they've got the quality to bring players on and change the game. You've got Cameron Archer on the bench. Ross Stewart, we didn't even realise he was on the bench until we saw him warming up, and we're like, Ian Wright meme, like, bloody hell, I thought he was dead. To see him there, we couldn't believe it. So you had him coming on as well. So I just thought the longer that game went on, the more it could have been difficult for us, because I looked at our bench and I thought there is nobody on that bench I honestly thought would be a game changer. So getting that first goal was huge, and then when we did, we were absolutely fantastic. And plus the unbeaten away run ended exactly a year after it started. It was almost like it was meant to be, unfortunately. So I guess that now means I can't go to an away game this year now, because it's gonna mirror last year. It's gonna now be a year of winless away games, isn't it? I guess.
Look, just don't go. Look, just don't go. Like, you've had your fun, you've travelled the miles, you've paid for your ticket, you've done enough for me. I know Liv wants to go to a few, but not for me.
I'm going to West Brom. Totally going to West Brom.
Just don't go. Just don't go. And I'm going to move on because I don't want to chat about your away records in 2026. To be honest, I just can't do it. But yeah. And then the year prior to the one that you had unbeaten was horrendous. Was it like 13 defeats or something?
Or even worse than that.
13 games you didn't see a win. Yeah, that's what I thought. But look, let's chat about Southampton then, because a blistering second half performance saw a double from Morgan Whittaker with Sammy Silvera and Alan Brown giving Boro all the points. Matt, how would you assess it? Obviously, we were sat together as always, and you were absolutely over the moon at full time. So I'm assuming you're going to say exactly the same thing here.
Yeah, buzzing. Like I said, going into that game yesterday, I'll be honest, I wasn't remotely excited for it. I think we'd had so much football in such a quick spell, and a lot of it was just like depressing me. I just thought, get this game out of the way. Then we've got 12 days till the next league game. The Fulham game didn't really exist in my head. I just thought, get this out of the way. Don't get beat. Stop the rot. Maybe score a goal for starters, and then 12 days to bring back injuries and hopefully bring a few bodies in. And I'll be honest, my expectations were very, very low. And as the first half went on, I thought we played well. I thought we played very well first half. I thought it was an even game, as you sort of expected when you look at both teams. Two teams who like to have the ball, like to create. I thought it was a pretty even game. I thought, given our injuries, we stood to them really well, matched them across the pitch for the most part. I know, and we'll get on to talking about him, I'm sure, two massive goal scoring blocks kept us in it from a certain French colossus at the back, who I can't wait to talk about. But then, yeah, second half, again, as I say, I worried we were seeing a bit of deja vu because we still hadn't scored. And second half performances genuinely have probably not been as good as the first. So I was waiting for them to sort of get that opener, whether it was from their 11 or off of their very strong bench, and then it become a bit of a tough game and a rinse and repeat. But when we got that first goal, it was like a switch had been flicked, and we were purring, weren't we? We were absolutely purring. We were playing around them. You could tell the confidence was flowing through the players, and we looked like we could have bagged a couple of more. We were absolutely outstanding in that second half, and paired with Southampton, I think, being pretty poor, but they just didn't know where to look. They didn't know how to deal with us, and 2 goals for Morgan Whittaker, up to 10 goals now, which I don't think anyone would have believed if you'd have told a Boro fan that in September. I think Brown deserved his goal with how well he did, obviously coming in within 6 minutes after Bangura went off as early as he did. It was a great performance second half. Silvera took his goal well too. So to just beat them for me was a huge result given our run, and I guess looking at the two squads and where we were at with injuries, but to beat them 4-0, I think it was a reminder of what hellball can be like under Boro, and it's a relief given other teams didn't play, back up to second. 12 days now to rest and recuperate, go again and strengthen the squad. So yeah, it was a big win, one of the biggest of the season, I would say.
Yeah, look, and there's going to be players coming in over the next few days or so, and I'm hoping that we'll strengthen and we'll add. I think we need a bit more directness in our play, and that will help us become more of a Hellberg team. It definitely feels like when you look at his team in the past, and I just thought Hammarby were really good at getting the ball on the line and getting people into really good positions. And I think just on Southampton as well, I agree with you, Matt. I thought they were poor. They could have been 1 or 2-0 up, and it would be deservedly so in that. But so it's weird to say that in the same sentence. But I think their overall play just wasn't particularly great. I was so confused by their goal kick routine, like why they had like 6, 7 players so far back, and then a big gap in the middle where Boro could man mark, or even had an advantage at times. So it just really forced them into positions where they didn't really need to be in, and made it difficult for themselves. And I also thought when they did have possession, they just weren't creating those right moments. And they're a side for me, Southampton, who have abundance of quality, but for me, they're a team that lacks confidence. I think they're a team that aren't well coached even, I think. And the third part of it is, I think the coach that they've got, they probably shouldn't have hired in the first place. I think when you always are appointing a caretaker in charge, I think they ride that wave for like 6 to 8 games. And then after that, it tends to really tail off. I thought Will Still wasn't doing a horrendous job. I think there's a lot of things at play when he was there, but they had to get a better manager in than what they've got right now. And I think they're starting to show a little bit more. But yeah, they're going to have probably a big clear out in the summer. And Cameron, if we're still in this league, I wouldn't mind having him. But if we're at the Prem, probably not going to be the striker that he needs going forward. But should we chat about the injury crisis? Because Boro's start of the game couldn't have got any worse, really. Bangura went off after 2 minutes, and now Boro have Lenihan, Edmondson, Jones, Bangura, Britton, McGree, Strelick, Sen, and Fry. Hey, Macarena. So with that, but what's going on? Because there's been so many injuries over the last few weeks, and this curse keeps to be coming back and back and back, and this doesn't seem. What's going on, guys? What is going on?
Wish I knew. I think all you can really conclude is we are cursed in some way. The fact that it seems to be mostly defence as well, and considering at the start of the season, Kieran Scott kind of gave that interview where he said, we've looked at players who you can get the majority of the season out of them. That's why we brought in people like Alfie Jones and Callum Britton, and both of them are injured now. That's how we can't catch a break. I suppose the only positive thing from Britain was that it seemed to be an impact injury, and it's came out today that he's not going to be out as long as first feared. But and some of the players might be back by West Brom and Stoke. It's just whenever anyone goes down, and it happened with Bangura in the first 5 minutes, you just think, oh God, what's happening this time? Like, there's got to be something that leads to it and makes it so that there's a higher proportion of injuries, and a lot of them seem like muscle injuries rather than impact in Britain's case. But there must be something that leads to that. There must be, if we dig a little bit deeper behind the scenes, there must be something going on there.
Yeah, it has to be. I think with the muscle stuff as well, like, yes, we're in a very intense period. So naturally the demand on that, plus the travel, also the nights that you don't sleep on a night game as well, because of the amount of adrenaline that you've got, the intensity that you have, there's so much at play. And unfortunately, Boro are in a position right now where they're just having a lot more injuries than probably other teams are. But given that it's been happening for so long, it has to be something more. Is it the pitches? Is it the boots they're wearing? Is it the way they're being told to warm up? Is there anything like that which might be impacting these injuries that are happening? And to be honest, and some of them are recurring injuries as well. So it's like, how are we recovering these players? Is it injections? Are we trying to rush them back too soon? I don't know. And obviously, when we aren't in the club, we can't really see. Again, we're not experts in this, but it's like one of those things where you're thinking, oh my God, like, how many players is it going to take? Like, last year was exactly the same as well. All the defenders, remember the back end of the season, Howson was playing centre half, and we were thinking, oh God, here we go again. Yeah, it just keeps happening. But Matt, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you mentioned it's the same names. I think we were hoping that Jones and Britton would be two that had come in with relatively good injury records. The others I'm not surprised by, and I think it puts their position within the squad at question. I think, it's awful to say where Darragh Lenihan really thought he was going to come back this season. And I think when we saw him play at Preston, we all thought this was the sort of the start of his Boro career part 2. Whether it was too early to rush him back then, I don't know. Hindsight is, a wonderful thing and all that. But, with a squad that is full as well, it's going to be interesting to see what we decide to do with a lot of these players in January, because we need space to open up to bring in the players that we need. So, decisions might now have to be made on Lenihan and maybe even Edmondson. What was it? I can't recall what game it was where he come in midway through the first half and then went off at halftime, never come back out again. I mean, yeah, we've got to have players that are more reinforced than that. And Bangura, you maybe give a little bit of, you can maybe be a bit more lenient on him because he has come back in after a long time out and played through a very frenetic period in the season. And Hellberg did put him straight in. So you can maybe forgive Bangura for that. But Jones was the really disappointing one because I thought he was bionic, to be honest. I didn't think he could get injured. So hopefully he's not out for a while. And Britton's is just unfortunate. And McGree as well. We hoped that when he come back, as was often said by the Rat in the pressers, once he's back, that's it. He's back for good. I don't know if I've just quoted Westlife there or someone, but yeah, we're back for good anyway. And yeah, he's out again. So players like that, we've got to have players in them areas who we can have as backups, who can we can rely on a little bit more. I think Strelitz and Sen are just unfortunate because Strelitz just can't get his Boro career going, and Fry's another one who you just can't keep fit. I love Dale Fry to bits. He's been a great servant at this football club, but how long do you keep looking at these players? And you need centre halves who ideally can give you 30 plus games a season guaranteed, and every time they're in for a few and they're out again. It was the same with Vandenberg, wasn't it? So whether it's a problem with the club, whether we're just unfortunate with who we sign or whatever it is, I think there are some cases where we need to look at and maybe think about the future of some of these players. Others, I think we are just a little bit unfortunate and cursed. It's always this time of year, isn't it, with Boro? This time of year, players drop like flies, and it's seemingly happened again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a quality issue as well. Like with the squad that we have, we've always said there's a high ceiling and a low floor. of the team, and we have about 14, 15 excellent players, but the squad, when you start to peel it back a little bit more, the quality reduces quite a lot in comparable to, say, like a team like Ipswich, who have like 25 players who could probably play in any team in the division, and they've got such great depth. They have the ability to rotate, whereas teams like us, yes, we are a great footballing team. We've got some really good players, but I think are we in a position where we're having to over rely on these players, and they're playing too many minutes in too many or too infrequent days, and that's causing an effect. But there is maybe that, we don't have the like nature to have so much quality, I guess, is probably what I'm trying to say. I think we just don't have enough quality and depth to make sure that we can rotate as often as we want to, really. But hopefully in this window we can maybe add to that, But I think in the summer you are looking at maybe like 6 defenders that you have to potentially bring in, which is insane. You are reconstructing an entire backline, and more. But when Bangura went off, Alan Brown came on, Boro changed shape into a back four, moved to a 4-2-3-1, and the game really did change, to be honest. And Tom, were we fortunate not to go in at halftime like behind, because there was some big chances from Southampton, wasn't there?
I wouldn't necessarily say so, because we had some all right chances ourselves. Hackney had that one just wide of the post from the free kick. There was a couple of other ones. It could have gone either way that first half, and 0-0 was probably fair going into half time. I just want to point out, by the way, you mentioned Alan Brown coming on there. I think we should rechristen him as Newhousen, because he's already wearing number 16. He's already played centre mid, centre back, and right back now. But like right back, he looked like he'd been playing there for years. I was wondering where he was going to play when he came on. I was assuming he was going to play a centre back. Then I seen him going over the right hand side. I'm like, oh, I wonder how this is going to go. He looked great. He looked like he's been Callum Britton's understudy all season, just waiting for a chance. But yeah, to answer your question, I wouldn't necessarily say we were lucky to go in equal at half time. Like I say, we had our own chances. Draw was probably level was probably fair at half time, and it was up to us at that point to kick on in the second half.
Yeah, and for me as well, when a midfielder does come on and plays in defence, I always think they always do well, because they can just see all of the game in front of them. Where I think when you are playing midfield, you've got to have eyes in the back of your head at times, and you're playing on a 360. And I think when you are, in his case, have that ability and that much talent, everything's just in front of you. It just makes such a big difference. With him being in such a corner, you can see more of the pitch as well. And yeah, it really did work for him. And honestly, I thought he was great yesterday, Alan Brown. But there's a player I do want to come on to in just a moment. But Tom, as soon as that goal went in, did you feel like Boro could just really kick on? Because it felt like the stadium just erupted as soon as Whittaker scored. And then, hey, 3 goals later, it's 4-0, and Boro going home very happy. But did you feel like as soon as that goal went in, Boro were going to really take the game by the scruff of its neck and finish the game off?
You know what I did, yeah, and I think a lot of it was down to the atmosphere, because it lifted the entire Boro portion of the stadium. But then you look at the Southampton players; they all had the Reds down straight away. I didn't hear much from the Southampton fans at all yesterday, and I don't mean that to kind of be a slight on them, because it's a hell of a journey to make. There was only a few coaches outside the stadium while I was waiting to get out the car park. So, fair play to anyone who came up. But I think any noise that they did make must have been drowned out. And I couldn't hear them after the goal either. And I didn't expect it to be that quick. The second goal, it did seem like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it did seem like it was only around 5 minutes or so, and then Ayling absolutely wellies it over the top to Silvera. and like the ball's coming down, and I'm sat watching Silvera, and I was thinking, there's a lot of areas of his game that he needs to work on, but I've always found that he has a really, really good first touch. So I'm thinking all the way down, he's going to control this superbly. And then he knocks it ahead of himself, and I'm like, in that split second, thinking, oh, he's lost it. And then to finish it off, the way he did, it didn't seem like he got the best contact on it. And especially from where I was sat, I couldn't see past a couple of players at the time, so I didn't know if it had also taken another touch. But yeah, when that second one went in, I was just like, "This is it. Now more than the first goal. We are going to push on and get more here, and there's not much that Southampton are going to be able to do about it."
Yeah, it was 3 goals in 12 minutes, and that in itself just blew them away. And I think for them, you're absolutely spot on, Tom. I thought their confidence just dropped straight away. They knew they would beat after the first goal and knew they couldn't get back into it. The Boro players felt like, we can really take this game on. And also, it felt like we had this whole little bit. As soon as we scored the first one, I was like, right, okay, well, we're going to kick on now, and you guys aren't going to do anything about it, to be honest. And it's so crazy to say that about a Southampton team. If you said that at the start of the season, you would have been called insane, to be honest. But yeah, I was so pleased with how we conducted ourselves in that second half. I said to you, Matt, didn't I? said, if we get one, we'll get 3 or 4.
You did. You did, to be fair.
So,
Mystic Bullock.
Yeah, Mystic Bullock over there. But I need to miss a second goal as well, didn't I, Max? I thought, you know what? Gonna go and get a drink, get a refreshment. I came up and my head literally popped up, and like I just seen Silvera knocking in, and I was like, oh. But there was a thing in that where we sit. I always, I might go to the bathroom or something at like the 30th minute, and I always miss a goal. It always happens every season. I must miss about 5 or 6. So I'm glad to see that come back.
In the Rob Edwards era, you missed them all, pretty much.
Missed them all, yeah.
You did, yeah.
I didn't see Nish. And honestly, I wasn't at many games was I under Edwards, but like, good God. Yeah, I didn't see much of that Rob Edwards era, to be honest, at all. But let's move on and chat about a player that you guys have just non-stop talking about in our group chat. Adilson Malanda made his debut yesterday. He arrived from Charlotte in the summer for a fee of $6 million, rising to 8. And we did do a lowdown on Adilson as well. So if you do want to look at that after this, or watch it now, who cares? Go over and watch it. It was a really good lowdown. We had a few people from Charlotte on there as well, which all sang his praises. Right, Adilson Malanda, discuss. Who would like to go first and wax lyrical about him?
Mate, I might go and watch that lowdown on Melander now just to watch more Melander content, because that debut yesterday was something else. Just he looks so composed at the back and so unlike any other defender we've had recently. I mean, people were absolutely raving about Rav van den Berg when he was first in the team and having his breakthrough season. I don't think he's got anything on that performance yesterday. Like I say, so composed, and the bar I would always compare a centre back to would be Johnny Woodgate when he was on loan the first time back in 06, 07.
Did he pocket Henry in his debut?
Yeah, fantastic centre back performance, just fantastic centre back in general, and that for me, I think at the time he made defending look fun to me, and this is me who'd grown up only ever wanting to be like a striker or a winger and do all the like entertaining parts of a game. That was what Johnny Woodgate, had done to my kind of.
It opened the game up to you.
Yeah, like my view of like defending
changed.
It did kind of open up a little bit. So he's the bar where I would hold any centre-back performance up to. And I'm not going to get carried away because it's only been one game. But in terms of a debut, that's as close to that bar as I've ever seen from a centre-back in the years since. So good. And I've seen people on Twitter already saying he's a Premier League centre-back in waiting and stuff like that. They can tell that after one game. I really wouldn't be surprised if he is in the Premier League with us or with someone else in the next few years. Hopefully with us, because I never want to see him leave now.
Matt, do you want to add to that?
I was in awe with him. I fell in love with him in the North Stand. Honest to God, I have got to agree with Tom. I've not seen a centre back performance as good as that, especially on his debut, for as long as I can remember. I mean, he just looked so calm and composed, and I think the best compliment I can give him, he didn't look like at any point he broke a sweat in that game. It didn't look like he even left first gear. And I think that's because positionally, he was always in the right place at the right time. So he never had to do any real recovery runs, whether they were trying to play into Armstrong or over the top and behind. He had him covered. He's rapid off the mark as well, by the way. He's so quick for a big man, but he gives us that height that we're desperately missing and that physicality. But his reading of the game was great. He was really good on the ball as well. That was something that surprised me. He was fizzing balls into some of our midfielders, and they were to feet. They were perfect. He just looked like he'd been playing at centre half for us for years. And I think sometimes when you sign a player for a decent fee, let's not forget, I can't remember what it will equate to in pounds. Yeah,
$6 million. Yeah, it's about
a good amount of
4.5 million, 4.8, and then we'll go to about 6-7 million.
Yeah, it's a decent bit of money to put on a centre half in the Championship, and you think, is he going to be a victim of his own price tag? And he lived up to it within one game. I just thought, wow, not only is he what we need, because our depth at centre half and the injuries we've got, not something you can rely on, but I think the quality that he brought just looked like levels above anything else that we have, and he just looked a level above anyone else on that pitch yesterday. So I'm now excited to watch Boro because Adilson Malanda is in the team, and to say that about a defender is crazy, but that's how good he was. So just stay fit, please. Don't fall at the same curse. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to play him at Fulham because I'm like, oh my God, don't you dare. But he'll probably pocket Fulham's. He'll probably pocket Rodrigo Muniz or whoever's starting for Fulham. So loved him. Yeah, he was absolutely immense yesterday. One of the best debuts I can remember.
Yeah, to be honest, I echo that. When I watched when I did the lowdown on him. To be honest, I was very fortunate to watch a lot of the Charlotte games, obviously in Wyscout, and speak to a few people about him. Looked at the underlying numbers, looked at everything. The beauty of doing lowdowns is you sometimes see something and you go, "Wow, okay, I can really understand why we've bought them." Sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it absolutely spot on, but in terms of ratings, Engel, for me, which I got terribly wrong, and people still don't let me forget about it. But for this, I was just so excited. I was just stunned with his talent, and then the back of your mind, you're going, okay, well, he is in Major League Soccer, and is that level getting better yet? And it is. I think the MLS is becoming a really competitive league. Now when it can start to translate into the Championship and into the Premier League even more now. But for me, Adilson, I don't think you've seen the best. Don't even seen the best of him yet, to be honest. I think his ability for the long diag, phenomenal. His distribution is excellent. His ability, I think you were saying there, Matt, around his positioning and not breaking a sweat. The best defenders don't need to make big tackles. They already read it. They see that moment. They already see it happening before it even happens. And I think there was so much to love about his performance, to be honest. And what I loved even more, as well as those big tackles, how he celebrated them as well. He loved it. He loved every single moment of that debut. And to be honest, if I was him, I'd be going, well, if Adam Armstrong, can't cause me any problems, I think I might be all right in this league. But saying that, there will be teams who will cause him issues. I think teams will want to press him when he's in possession of the football. I still think they'll want to try and make it difficult for him. He will have bad games in this division. People will say he's X, Y, and Z in a few weeks' time. Some will love him, but I think Boro will be very, very fortunate to have Melander at the club within 12 months. I think they'll be very, very fortunate. Unless we're in the Premier League, I can't see him staying at all. I think he's probably a £20 million player. Now, I think not in the next few months, I think now. I think we're very, very lucky to have him. But saying that, it is very early. There will be a lot to absorb for him. But yeah, I think off the back of that, I don't think you could be any happier with how he's playing at the minute.
I've got another couple of points because I could genuinely sit here for the next hour and talk even more about Melander if people would be willing to listen to that.
Well, we have called this podcast Melander. We have called it Melander Mania. So by all means, go.
Yeah, it was running wild at the Riverside yesterday, but
was it?
I just wanted to kind of point out as well, because I noticed this yesterday, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out in future games. I don't know if you guys both saw this as well. We were aiming for him with pretty much every set piece that we had, and he's added some much-needed height to our team. When the game started and we were down the other end, I said to my dad, I was like, he's a big lad, isn't he? And he was like, I thought he'd be taller. I thought he'd be like towering over everyone. And I was like, you don't get it because you don't get it because he's far away. Yeah. And then they came down the other end for the second half. I think he did something in defence and made a block or something, and Ayling went to congratulate him. And I was like, do you appreciate how tall he is now? Because Ayling's literally just looked up at him. Like Ayling's just looked up to say congratulations at him. That is how tall he is. And he was like, yeah, like I can see that now that he's a bit closer. But we were aiming for him with every set piece. There was a long throw that we had in the first half. I'm still not used to the change of ends, so having to work that one out there. Long throw we had in the first half, and Ayling was just telling him where to be to try and get it on his head. We were pretty much aiming for him with every corner. I think if we keep doing that, he's going to get some goals as well before the end of the season, and I do wonder if it's if the first one's going to come very soon.
Yeah, I wonder who we partner with him now, because arguably after one game, he's cemented himself as an absolute starter in this team. And I know we've been talking about how unreliable our centre-halves are, but who do you pair him with? Do you put him with Alfie Jones? Do you put him with Dale Fry and have two absolute big lads at the back? Because I still think when Dale Fry's fit, he is a brilliant defender at this level. But I guess Melander now makes up for that height that maybe you get for Dale Fry. And again, it's the question of, does he stay fit? Can he stay fit? So, yeah, dude, who would you guys pair him with? I mean, I'd say Alfie Jones if I had all the defenders available, but Dale Fry's not a bad option to have alongside him as well if you want to have two big boys at the back. So I don't know what you guys think about who you'd pair him with, because he's got to be a starter already, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree with Jones. Well, Jones is 6'3", so you've got two big lads in defence there, and I think you can't rely on Dale at the moment, but if you're looking at value and who's played well this season, I think Luke Ayling's is not a bad shout, and he's been excellent this year at centre half, and he's been the most consistent as well. But I think right now you don't need Ayling as much as what you did previously, because I think Ayling's good with his feet, and comparable to what we have now. But I think Melander brings that distribution even at a much higher level. And I think Alfie Jones is a good partner to have him with as well. And as much as, Dale is great at the football club, you just can't rely on him. And the best ability is availability, and he just doesn't have it. Neither does Lenihan. And you can't rely on him now. But like the same, you can't rely on Fry, you can't rely on Edmondson, you can't rely on Lenihan. Can't probably rely on Bangura. Ayling is getting older, and is probably not good enough for the Premier League, unfortunately, but he's still a good professional. Matt Targett's out of contract as well. So, yeah, you've got two players there in Alfie Jones and Melander who I think you'd be really happy with in front of you if you were Sol Bryn, to be honest. I think the better defence as well makes Bryn look better as well. I think Bryn is good in moments, but I can see a slight weakness there in shot stopping. But if you've got a really good defence there, like Dimmy did in an out promotion season, you just have to be a half decent goalkeeper, and you do break quite a lot of records. But Tom, who would you have?
I said Jones a couple of minutes ago, but then I completely forgot about Ayling as well. I think before Melander, it was probably Ayling and Jones, and now we've probably got to pick one or the other, because I don't think there's any way you drop Melander from that team now. Touch wood, unless he's injured, but hopefully that won't be the case, and he remains not breaking a sweat and indestructible. And yeah, I think I'd still go with Jones, but if Jones is out for a little while longer and we end up with Ayling at centre back alongside Melander, I would go with Ayling. And that is still over Fry, Edmondson. I don't think we're ever going to see Lenihan play for us again, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd have Jones and Ayling there, and hopefully we might be able to add someone in January as well who can come in and help, even if it's just a loan until the end of the season.
Yeah, I definitely think we need to strengthen in that position, to be honest. It's interesting as well, though, because with Fry, he is the club captain. So it's like, it's an interesting dynamic. Do you want to drop your captain? And do you think that if he's fit? I think Dale's great, but I do think that Jones is probably just the better option for us right now. But let's move on. Unless he's happy with your Melander, is it out of your system, or do you want to still keep chatting about it?
We should just dedicate a segment to him every week, just so we can have a little bit of Melander chat,
Fair enough. The Melander Mania chat is coming soon. But for right now, Peter's podcast questions. Yes, podcast questions. Every week you get the chance to ask us a question. You can ask us on Twitter. You can email us at theboroBreakdown@hotmail.com. Or you can follow us on Facebook and ask us on there. Ask on Instagram. Ask us on Blue Sky. Or you can get an owl and try and post it to us somewhere or another, or you can come to the North Stand and ask me and Matt the question as well. But the first question, it's from David, and he asked, and it came on email, and David says, my question is quite long, but I think it's a conversation a lot of Boro fans are having right now. What do we make of this squad that Kieran Scott has built? Does he have enough options, Don? I like the option. I like the fact that he put Don in there, because I was like, thanks, David. You're a long-time listener as well, so I appreciate that. He said, the team looks fine on paper, but we've got a significant group of players who can't get or stay fit. We've had some players starting who should be backups, and despite the number of attackers we've not got anyone who can play wide. The only player that with pace, and that's before we get to the finish, and none of our strikers are particularly physical or quick. We put in so many crosses, mostly low, but definitely a mixture. And we've not got anyone who wins a header, bar our defenders. When I'm looking at our bench over the last few games, I've been irked. All of our options are similar. We've not got the players to change the setup of the attack. They're all neat and tidy, who all want to play on the ground in certain areas. Thanks, love the pod. God, my dyslexic ass was really struggling there. But thanks for that, David, for that. But in terms of the crux of the question, he says, what do we think of the squad that Kieran Scott has built? Does it have enough options, Don? What do we think?
I actually quite liked it going into this season. I wasn't completely sold on the whole philosophy of buying players who can play multiple positions, and I would rather have two specialists in every position. As he says, on paper, it does look good and there's options there, but we do have issues with injuries, and I think we've got issues with form in certain areas as well. I never want to go into January and see us having to make a lot of change. I think especially when we're sat second in the league, I wouldn't have gone into this saying we need a massive change, because it's a bit of a weird position to be in there. But we kind of also do need that in a way. There are some players who are taking up the squad space, who would maybe benefit from going out on loan. There's some that could maybe just be deregistered because they're probably not going to play a lot in the second half of the season. And then you've got to be looking at the loan market. do we have any loans that go back, e.g. Naipan? There's talks that he might go back to City. You try and bring in the right players, but then you also don't want to get absolutely ripped off, because it's definitely a seller's market in January rather than a buyer's market. So, yeah, it's a difficult one, and I'm sure that the club are probably going to go for it in terms of the business that we do. I feel like, especially over the last few years, we always tend to have a busy January, even if we don't necessarily want to. We always tend to bring in a fair few players, so it's going to be interesting to see what the squad looks like by the end of January. Hopefully, we can add the required quality, and there's no more Iheanachos coming into the club.
Good God, yeah, Christ, that's PTSD right there, isn't it? I think a lot of it's down to the manager and the style of football you want to play. I do think there were holes in the squad that we missed out on in the summer. I think we often saw it under Rob Edwards. The amount of times we would just resort to slinging balls into the box, but we had no physical presence up there to head them in. I thought we missed a trick in the summer, not bringing in a real physical centre forward. I was really surprised we didn't bring in a Carlton Morris type, because he had really big physical centre forwards at Luton that I guess suited his crossing style of play, and we were just so limited, weren't we? You just forced Boro to chuck a long ball into the box and you just defend it. And I think as well, a lack of pace and width in the team in terms of like wingers. I think that's something we're definitely going to bring in January, something Hellberg will want in his team and something we lack. So there were a few gaps that we definitely missed out on. But then equally in the summer, there was talk to begin with that Edwards wanted to play with a 4. Then it quickly became apparent he wanted a 3. So then you need wing backs, and then you're playing with 10s, so you don't need wingers. So then we brought in a load of dribbly 10s. And now that we're changing back to a style of play with Hellberg, where you'd like to think he wants more width and more pace, a lot of them 10s are now they're not like useless, but I don't think they particularly suit what he wants. I think we've seen that in recent weeks with a lot of the options he just doesn't seem to be fussed on. So some of it, I think, is, holes in the recruitment that we've missed out on. Others is changing of managers. And obviously, we never expected to change getting rid of Edwards and bringing in Hellberg like we did. So I think there's a little bit of, it's been enforced as well. So, I think he's done all right, Kieran Scott, building the squad. I mean, I look at Coventry and I think they only needed to tweak 2 or 3 positions in the summer because they just had a squad already. And they kept all of a lot of their best players, and they were probably in a better position to kick on than what we were. So could have been better, but I do think there's been mitigating factors that we can't help. And hopefully we can fill in them gaps and give Hellberg exactly the sort of players he wants in January. Because I honestly think if we do, I think the squad will look a lot differently at the end of January than what it looks like right now.
Yeah, I think you have to back him. You have to back Hellberg in this window if you want to get promoted, to be honest. And even if you do back him and it doesn't work out this year, I think next year you are going into it really confident. The squad itself, I'm happy-ish with. I think with Kieran Scott coming in, I think he's made some fantastic signings, and we've massively benefited as football club since Kieran Scott's came in, and so on Chris Jones as well, head of recruitment, and they've done a wonderful job in bringing players in, sell them on for profit, helping us reinvest, and that reinvestment takes a lot of time. And in the meantime, as well, you've got to try and raise the floor of a squad, whilst trying to get as many saleable assets or stars and quality players, and as well on top of that. So that's always a difficult challenge. We don't have an unlimited budget, so we can't bring in a load of really quality players. We've got a set budget that we have to try and match quality and hope the coaching staff get more out of them. But then there's another layer to it as well, is that it's on the players too. Like, someone can look great on paper, but they just might not work out at a football club like Iheanacho, as we used to call him for a little bit. On paper, great experience, done it in multiple leagues, fairly decent record. But Ian Sneeze, that was the one. Thanks, Matt. And Matt sent me a message in the chat. Thanks, Matt. Ian Sneeze, God, yeah. What a great nickname that was. And how to forget that? Anyway, moral of the story is people can look good on the CV, but they might not materialize to be as good as you expect them to be. And unfortunately, that is the luck of the draw in football. You can just never really fully get it, but it's a very expensive mistake if you get it wrong. I think most of our signings have been good. But I think looking in our squad in January, I echo both your sentiments. I think, you've got to bring in players now who are a bit more direct, someone who can become a bit more adaptable, because we'll come on to it in just a moment. But sometimes having a lot of similar players can result into very predictable football. And when you become very predictable, you're very easy to defend against. But the next question we have is from John, and that was also on email. And he asks, how would you rate Boro's loan signings this season? I personally I would be looking to make Matt Targett and Alan Brown's moves permanent. The biggest compliment I can give Brown is something that you said earlier, Tom, is that we haven't missed Johnny Howson and his ability to slot in all over the pitch. Tom, how would you rate Boro's loan signings this season? You've got Alan Brown, Matt Targett, and Sarah Nipan.
As I said earlier about Newhausen, I think he's great. Matt Targett, I think, has been really, really solid and really good. I think when we missed out on Arfston in the summer, and it became apparent that we weren't going to be able to sign him, and then it came out the next day, or a couple of days after that, we were after Matt Targett. I was kind of looking at it. I was like, he's good, but he's not going to offer us the same thing that this Arfston guy can apparently do. He's not going to be an attacking threat on the left-hand side the same way as Callum Britton hopefully will be on the right-hand side. And then for me, he's offered us on that left-hand side a bit of solidity, and I think it's a bit of solidity that we've missed over the last couple of seasons. I know we've tried to address it with 3 different signings. Engel didn't work out, Borges didn't work out, and Bangura unfortunately has had a torrid time with injuries. It's been great having that player you can count on the left hand side. And in terms of both him and Brown, if we were to look at making their moves permanent, I'd be looking at lower fees and trying to reduce wage demands, because Matt Targett's apparently on $100,000 a week at Newcastle, and or a month or whatever it was, and Alan Brown must be on decent wages at a newly promoted Sunderland. So you've got to look at it and think, right, are they going to want the wages that are on offer at Boro? And then you got to look at their age as well, and thinking it's got to only be like a couple of years contract in that case as well. So that's probably one to be addressed at the end of the season. And in terms of Nipan, I'm a little bit disappointed, and I hate to say it, because I think it was the October review show that I did with Dana, and I said I think he's been hampered by that term wonder kid, and everyone's expectations of him have been sky high coming into it. And at the end of the day, he's 19 now, and still adapting to a new country, a new league. He's instantly been loaned out by his parent club, so he's having to move to a country, then move to somewhere completely different and get used to a more physical league. It's obvious that he must have the ability, if Man City are signing him for whatever fee it was. I'm getting somewhere between 7 and 12 million. 12 million, yeah. He must have the talent for Man City to make that sort of a move. It's just maybe not working out for him in this system. Maybe it's not what he needs for his development, and it's not really what Boro needs right now. We've got players who, when they're fit, there's no room for Nipan in that squad in the starting 11. So he's going to be limited to bench appearances. It might be that, as I mentioned earlier, the clubs speak to each other in January and think, right, what's the best thing for his development? And it might be going back to City and being loaned out somewhere else. So then we can get someone who's more suitable for the situation we're in now. And I do kind of wonder if we've signed him not expecting to be in the position we are in come the January transfer window. And feeling like he might get a little bit more game time than what he's had.
Yeah, quick point on Nipan. It's something we were chatting about at the game, Johnny. I think we've probably got him too early. And in 1 or 2 loan spells time, when he's maybe 20, early 21, if he is still out on loan, he might have broken the City team by then. I think in 2 or 3 years' time, he could become a really, really great footballer. We were saying, weren't we? Like he still hasn't physically developed yet. He's got growth. He's going to become a more physical player. He's going to become, you forget how young he is. And I think it could just be a case of, frustratingly for us, maybe, depends how things go, I guess, this season, but we might be looking at Nipan in a couple of years' time, whether it's his next loan or his loan after, or whether it's at City itself. And we'll be thinking, wow, he is a tremendous footballer. We just maybe had him a little bit too early in his development. Obviously, first year in England, and I think when he does adapt and physically come on, I think he will be an excellent footballer, because I think he's got the quality. Maybe it's just a little bit too early for him. So maybe we'll see the best of Srey Nipan, unfortunately for us, in a few years' time somewhere else.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment, Matt. Really good footballer, really good technically. I did say on his lowdown, just let him develop. And this is kind of this season, really. He's not going to, set the world alight, but he's shown good moments. But unfortunately, he's not. I feel like he's a player that just needs a bit of rhythm. And once he gets going, I think he's going to be a really good talent in English football, to be honest. So yeah, echo your sentiment there, Matt. In a couple of seasons, I think you've got a really good player in your hands there. But next question is from Bredders, and they ask, do you think all the teams will play a low block against us to stop us playing our best football? Do you see us setting up in any other way under this management group to try stop teams always parking the bus against us? To be honest, I don't see us changing too much from like a system standpoint, but I think the personnel aspect is probably the biggest change of what you'll see, and that's the way you'll break teams down. I think with low blocks as well, the best way to get them down is you want to stretch the pitch as much as you possibly can, play with a really good tempo, and then also try and get that ball in behind as well and work it in that way. I think sometimes when you get the ball out wide and you're knocking it in the box time and time again, you're really outnumbered in those moments. So it's better just to work it round and take your time to get it through, versus like we've seen against the likes against Bristol City or against Derby. It was bang, 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 bang. And even with Blackburn as well, it wasn't really working. I do think, though, that this window, if we have more direct players, we'll be able to probably get better results. I'm looking at our fullbacks. How do we improve even them on the left-hand side? How do we improve? Because I think just on the left-hand side, when Target does play that, I don't think it gets forward enough. And I think sometimes that limits you on the left-hand side. And when he doesn't move, Boro don't move. And similarly, with when Britain doesn't do it as well. So I think we're fortunate in a way that with Brown, Britain, and even with Ayling, that we're all forward-thinking players. So we're able to get that done. But that left-hand side, you've got Target there. So I'm thinking over the next couple of games, we might see a couple of struggling moments there. We're struggling to break a team down. But how you overcome that is if you have a good 1v1 winger, also someone who's really nippy in behind, but also you've got to move that ball really quickly just to try and push the team from side to side. And hopefully a team might overcommit on making errors, because it's so hard to defend for 90 minutes. It's really physical to do that. But for me, Boro are a team that are best on the transition. And, we don't really have those moments in a low block, but also with the quality as well. Even with those low blocks, we've still had a number of chances. And if we score early, those low blocks become irrelevant. You need to get a striker who can put it in the back of the net, unfortunately, or someone who can, or find a moment that when you do score from a corner, you've got different options. So, like, you've got Melander, who's 6'5", Alfie Jones is 6'3". You've got some height in your team. If you've got different options on, then low blocks become a lesser of a problem. and you want to become like a bit of a Swiss Army knife in terms of like a team, really. And that's how the best teams, become really successful, because of that adaptability, and also the ability to win the ball back really quickly and then overturn and get a shot away. But then the final question is from Liv, Matt. So go and ask her downstairs, and go and tell her if you want. But she says, with Conway, is it a problem that he's hardly ever in the box? Tom, do you want to take this one? I feel like, Matt, I don't think you can really answer this because you probably spoke about it at dinner tonight. So it feels a bit daft not to talk about it. But Tom, I don't know if you want to jump in.
I think the issue is that he needs another goal, and he needs it to come from open play. I can't question his work rate when he's in the team, because he covers some ground in terms of our pressing. You mentioned it earlier in terms of like Southampton's goal kicks yesterday. He was a big part of stopping that distribution short, and it was obvious, like, we were trying to take away those short options from Bazunu. And then, if anything, we wanted the ball out from the back to come from Nathan Wood, because he scuffed that a couple of times, and Conway was leading that. So in terms of that side of his game, I think he offers a lot to the team. And then I think you only have to look at some of the goals from yesterday. So you look at Silvera's, for example, and that could have easily gone wide because of the connection that he got on it. But Conway was there, and he was in space, and he had his arms out asking for that ball. And I mean, thankfully Silvera shot and it went in, but he was in the position there. But Morgan Whittaker was in a better position to tap that in if, it was more kind of, if it was going wide, Whittaker could have tapped that in. And you'd think that they'd want to be in kind of opposite positions there, and Conway would have been the furthest forward. So that's probably my only kind of criticism of when he's in the box. Is he in the right place? But then you look at what he did last season and the goals that he got last season. I think it's obvious that there's quality there with Conway, and he can get those goals. I think more often than not, he needs a service, and he needs to be confident and on form. And I don't think he has been this season. But, I don't think that the lack of goals this season makes him a really bad striker or anything, because he's contributed to the team in a lot of different ways. He probably should have had about 20 penalties by now, and that would have added to his record. But yeah, I think people are a little bit harsh on him at times, and like I say, you only have to look at what he's achieved so far in terms of the goal record that he had last season and the goals he put in for like Bristol City beforehand, to know that he can do it. It's just unlocking the best of him, really. And like I say, maybe it's not necessarily that he's not in the box, but when he is, maybe he needs to be in a different position.
Yeah, I think he's trying too hard, to be honest. He's trying too hard to make things happen. And I think the pressure's got to him a little bit. I think if you were to take him out the side, I think people say, "Oh, is he going to really hinder his confidence?" I probably don't think it would. I know if we're struggling at the moment, we don't have another centre forward fit, so he has to keep playing through it. But I think even time out the side would be good for him. To be honest, just give him a bit of a breather. But then additionally as well, you always want your centre forward to be within the width of the goal, really, in that position. I always like my forwards really to peel off the back post and be in that position there when the ball comes across. He's there just to tap it in. I always think good forwards are there, and I think sometimes he just makes the wrong decision. But that's fine. He's still a young player, like he's a young Championship centre forward. He's definitely got some pros to his game, but I can understand why it frustrates a lot of people, and people are going to get frustrated if your centre forward's not scoring. And yeah, I'm equally as frustrated as that. But for me, if Sen and Strelic were fit, I'd probably go with them two up front right now versus a Conway. I would like to see it, but I don't know if we will or not this season. But I think Strelic and maybe another centre forward, if we were to bring one in the window, which I definitely think we should, I think that would be the best combo for us right now. But yeah, for me, Conway, he's been good enough in certain moments, but I think he's just trying too hard right now. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the praising place. Yes, the praising place. Every week, let's give a player some praise, or a core staff member, or you watching at home right now. Guys, praising place. I'm going to say you can't pick Melander unless you really want to. You can be in, of course, but who's in your praising place this week? Matt, do you want to go first?
It's Malanda Mania, so I'm picking Melander whether you like it or not. 100% he's going in there. And there could be a couple of players. I thought Luke Ayling was outstanding, really solid again. Isbo for Silvera was outstanding. I also chuckled when I saw him laughing at Finn Azaz after he was heading down the tunnel after getting shit from the south stand. Luke Ayling getting a little smile on his face because I think he's so used to getting grief from fans. I think he just laughed and was like, happy it was someone else, seeing how it feels. He was solid. I thought Matt Targett did a solid job. Obviously, had to move out of position yesterday, back into his natural position when Bangura went off. You could put Brown in there for being such a solid option at right back as well. And obviously, Morgan Whittaker got a really good brace. And yeah, 10 goals is really good. And I think for Whittaker as well, just overall, to sort of be as low as you could probably get as a footballer after being jeered off against Preston, to come back from that and get a goal and get back into the team and do as well as he has done, I think he just deserves immense credit in general. He still probably is a player who will frustrate some Boro fans and he won't offer everything they want, but I think he's done exceptionally well to come back from where he was, earlier on in this season as well. So yeah, a lot of players could be in there, but obviously it's Malanda Mania. So Malanda's the king of the praising place for me.
Tom, do you want to add to it?
Yeah, it might be the praising place sponsored by Adilson Malanda from now on, because yeah, he needs to be in it after that performance yesterday. And then I'm also going to pick Whittaker and Alan Brown. Whittaker for the goals, and as Matt said, he's recovered, and the Whittaker redemption arc this season is something to be revered. But and Alan Brown, Newhausen, like I say, he came on yesterday playing out of position, looked like he's played there all his life. And then I want to do like a non well, not football, but a non-Boro team shout out. Mark from ESB Football Shirts doing absolute God's work in the Dundas, because I finally got my favourite Boro home shirt right after Boxing. I think it was on Boxing Day. You can go look around on eBay, classic football shirts and stuff like that, but why would you do that when you can just go to the Dundas and look at the massive collection of shirts that's on offer and pick up some of your favourites? So got this one, goes in mint, man. And yeah, looking for the blue Cellnet one next.
Yeah, to be fair, Tom, that's probably one of my favourite Boro shirts as well. I think that one and I feel this one's an underrated kit, but the white and purple away kit.
I love that one. I
it.
asked him about it in the shop a couple of months back, and he said they're like gold dust. You can't get them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shirt. That my favorite one for me is the 2001 kit, away kit, the black shirt. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. I always think of when we beat Arsenal 3-0. Away from home, we scored 2 own goals. Yeah, they scored 2 own goals. Sorry, and I think it was Eddie who won it and someone else. But yeah, that was great. That was great. We're there for Boro, and I just love that kit. But yeah, for me, I'll say Melander. I loved his performance. I think Sammy Silvera deserves praise. I think, and obviously Whittaker. What I love though this year is that we have a lot of stories from players who have been written off and came back. And, I think Silvera for me deserves an immense amount of credit. And now look, there's, you can always say about his quality and he might not always, live up to that standard. But from where he was to now, I think that goal meant a lot to him, and he deserved it. He's worked so hard this season to get back into the team from no man's land and deserves so much credit. And similar to Morgan Whittaker, we've seen a lot of. You see more. I think with Whittaker, and I said this on this pod time and time again. Really, you've got to play through him, give him the ball all the times. Every time, if you see him, if he's available, to try and play through him as much as you can, because you will get something out of him. And yeah, he's starting to do that now, and he's playing full of confidence. And he looks like a player who's going to score every week now, and I love it. But yeah, players who seem to be at rock bottom are doing great this season. I think it's a lovely story to tell this year. When we look back at it as well, we can maybe look at these players and go, hey, it's like we did with Dimi when he was in goal, like Danny Ayala, two big players there who, really shouldn't be in a promotion winning team. But those stories, for me, I think, is what I love about these type of seasons. Hopefully we get a promotion to celebrate that as well. But let's look ahead now and turn to FA Cup action now, because Boro go to Fulham this week, and the FA Cup third round, which I do love the FA Cup third round weekend. I think it's a great weekend of football. But guys, just give me your predictions. Obviously, Boro are going to rotate the squad. There's going to be changes. But, like we've seen in previous years when we went to Manchester City away and beat them, good cup runs can make a season even better. But what are you going to predict for this weekend? Tom, would you like to go first on this one?
3-0, Melander hat-trick.
Melander, wild. Again, what, 3-0 Melander hat-trick?
You know what? I do think it's going to be closer than I maybe thought it was going to be before the Southampton game. I'm going to go with 2-0 Boro. I'm going to be optimistic for this weekend and say
nice.
we go there, we get the result, and we get into the FA Cup fourth round, and hopefully we get a more entertaining tie in the fourth round. Because no disrespect to Fulham, I'm sure they didn't want us either. It's nothing like getting like a nun eaten at home or something like that. Like that's what you want in the FA Cup. You don't want like a boring Championship versus Premiership, Championship, Premiership tie. You want like the either like a massive team or a small team.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
Fair enough, but very optimistic, Tom, going for a Boro win as well. But I do echo that sentiment. I always love a non-league team coming up and at least scoring. It's at the moment, it's great, isn't it? I just love it. But Matt, what do you think? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I don't want to put a damper on things, but I really do not care for next weekend's game at all. I think it's because when you're in our position, if we had nothing to play for, then I'd be all for a cup run. But I'm just so focused on the league. I'm like, just if we get knocked out, right, whatever, not bothered. Just less fixtures to worry about, less fixture congestion, less chance of players getting injured. So yeah, I'm happy regardless of the outcome next week. However, in saying that, I think we're going to win 2-1, and I think Melander's going to rise like a salmon from a corner and hit a bullet header to win the game 2-1 in the second half. And then he's probably going to, I don't know, pull out some gymnastic routine when he celebrates. He's going to do a cartwheel, and he's going to then do a backflip. And the guy can do everything, can't he? So that's what I can foresee.
Just I can see much like that when Ralph Wiggum flies through the window in The Simpsons. I can see that from Melander, just absolutely darting in, just going, just keeps flying even if he heads it, he follows the ball and goes in.
Goes through the net.
Yeah, scores in the net. We have to catch him. Well, yeah, maybe, who knows? To be honest, I can just see 2-1 Fulham, unfortunately. But yeah, you know what? It's Melander Mania. Anything can happen at this point. I'm over the moon. To be honest, even with the blip that we had, I still believe that we would come good. And this team for me, it just excites me. I'm drinking in the Kool-Aid. I'm there in the ditch. I'm really enjoying it at the moment. So yeah, fingers crossed, 2-0. But if we get beat, we get beat, and that's it. But this Fulham team can play, and if we get them on the transition, we'll definitely create a few moments. It's just, can we put it away? But guys, thank you very much for joining me, as always. To listeners and the viewers, don't forget to subscribe and like the Boro Breakdown videos. And also, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. It helps us get found, charted, and all that fun stuff. And help us get to 5,000 on YouTube as well. That's our next target. So if you can help us get there, then happy days. But for right now, this has been the Boro Breakdown Podcast. And that was like Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod. Malanda Mania is running wild. Up the Boro.